When you're standing at the airport, watching one plane after another line up for takeoff, you might suddenly realize something odd that you've probably never questioned before. Why are almost all airplanes white? You might expect a rainbow of colors, bright reds, deep blues, sleek blacks, but instead, you see a sea of white fuselages stretching across the tarmac. And that's not a coincidence. The reason airplanes are painted white isn't about style or branding. It's about physics, safety, economics, and hard-earned experience. Let's start with the most obvious reason: sunlight. Commercial airplanes spend most of their lives outdoors, often sitting on open runways in direct sunlight for hours at a time, sometimes in scorching heat, and often in extreme conditions. In those situations, color matters more than you might think. Dark colors like black or navy blue absorb more solar radiation, which quickly turns into heat. That heat builds up on the surface of the airplane, and if left unchecked, it begins to raise the temperature of the entire aircraft structure, including its wiring, electronics, cabin, and fuel systems. White, on the other hand, reflects most of that sunlight away. It has a high albedo, which means it doesn't absorb as much radiation as darker colors. As a result, a white airplane stays significantly cooler while it's parked in the sun, and in aviation, where every degree matters, that's not a minor detail. A cooler fuselage means less stress on climate control systems, less thermal expansion of materials, better protection for sensitive instruments, and ultimately, more efficient fuel use once the engines are running. Heat might seem harmless, but on a commercial aircraft, it's a costly enemy. That thermal benefit alone would be enough to justify white paint, but the advantages don't stop there. Another critical reason airlines stick with white is safety, specifically safety during inspection and maintenance. Every day, aircraft technicians walk around commercial planes, performing visual checks for damage. They're looking for oil leaks, hydraulic fluid, cracks in the fuselage, bird strikes, corrosion, or anything else that might compromise safety in flight. And all of that is easier to spot against a white background. A dark-colored aircraft can hide small cracks, oil streaks, or stains, making it harder for a mechanic to catch early warning signs. On a white fuselage, even a drop of fluid or a minor surface defect becomes obvious. In aviation, early detection can be the difference between a routine repair and a catastrophic failure. So by choosing white, airlines increase the visibility of potential problems, which in turn improves safety and reduces long-term maintenance costs. Speaking of costs, let's talk about the economics of aircraft paint. Painting a plane is a big job. It takes special facilities, trained crews, and often several days of downtime. But more importantly, paint has weight. And in aviation, weight equals money. A full paint job on a large passenger jet can add between 300 and 200 pounds, depending on the type of paint, the complexity of the design, and the number of layers used. That weight adds up over time. The heavier the plane, the more fuel it burns. And with fuel making up a major portion of an airline's operating costs, even a few hundred pounds of paint can translate into hundreds of thousands of dollars lost over the aircraft's lifetime. White paint, compared to other colors, is usually lighter and simpler to apply. It typically requires fewer layers, dries faster, and uses fewer heavy pigments. All of that saves weight, and over years of operation, those savings matter. Airlines are obsessed with efficiency, and for good reason. Every drop of fuel saved improves profit margins and reduces environmental impact. Another benefit is durability. The color white holds up better under harsh flying conditions. It's more resistant to ultraviolet radiation, which is significantly more intense at cruising altitudes than it is on the ground. UV rays degrade most colored paints faster than they degrade white, leading to fading, peeling, and chalking. In contrast, white stays stable and reflects radiation more effectively, reducing the need for frequent repainting and maintaining a clean, consistent look over time. And when repainting is necessary, white is easier to match and cheaper to apply. Airlines don't want to ground their aircraft for a week just to touch up a paint job. White simplifies that process, allowing airlines to keep planes in service longer and avoid unnecessary maintenance delays. There's also a business reason why white paint is so popular. Most commercial planes aren't owned outright by the airlines that fly them. Instead, they're leased from major aircraft leasing companies, which often have hundreds or even thousands of aircraft in circulation. When a lease ends or a plane is sold to a new operator, the transition is much smoother if the aircraft is painted white. A new airline can simply add its logo and minor branding to the tail and engines, rather than repainting the entire fuselage. That flexibility makes white-painted aircraft easier to remarket and more valuable on the global resale market. But it doesn't stop with engineering, safety, and finance. There's also a psychological dimension to all this. Whether they realize it or not, passengers feel more comfortable boarding a clean white airplane. White suggests sterility, precision, and order. It's the color of hospitals, laboratories, and clean rooms. It sends a subconscious signal that things are under control, that the environment is being managed carefully, and that the experience will be smooth and professional. It's not loud, it's not flashy, and it doesn't try to be exciting. That's exactly what most people want from a machine that carries them across oceans at 600 miles an hour. White also plays a surprising role in emergency situations. If a plane crashes in a remote location, say in the ocean or a snowy mountain range, white debris is easier to spot from the air. Search and rescue teams rely on visual contrast. A black or dark gray airplane might blend into water, rocks, or burned wreckage. A white airplane stands out. That increased visibility could help save lives in the event of a disaster, especially in the crucial early hours after impact. Now, to be fair, not all aircraft are white. Some airlines use creative designs or custom color schemes to stand out from the crowd. Think of Air New Zealand's black livery, or the special red and blue designs used by certain Asian and Middle Eastern carriers. But even these exceptions are often limited to promotional campaigns or special fleet subsets. The vast majority of aircraft, especially those in regular passenger service, remain predominantly white. And many of those that aren't end up being repainted white before being transferred, resold, or retired. Because white isn't a lack of creativity. It's not laziness, and it's definitely not boring. It's smart. It's efficient. It's safe. And it works. When you put it all together, thermal regulation, improved inspections, lighter weight, better UV resistance, easier resale, enhanced visibility, and psychological reassurance, you realize that white isn't just the default color for airplanes. It's the optimal color. It's the result of decades of testing, millions of flight hours, and countless engineering decisions, all converging on the most practical choice. So the next time you walk down the jet bridge and look out at the aircraft waiting for you, don't think of it as just another white airplane. Think of it as the final product of a long process of reasoning, optimization, and global standardization. That white paint isn't there to impress you. It's there to protect you, to save money, and to keep flying safe and sustainable. White isn't plain. White is genius. Subscribe us for more videos.